Modesty's Mortgage Masterclass. This is session number 10. Modesty's Mortgage Masterclass session number 10. And today's topic is on types of borrowers. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the types of borrowers today. 10 of Modesty's Mortgage Masterclass. All right, so we're happy we've made it to session number 10. So it means for 10 consecutive weeks, we've been talking and discussing and educating you on mortgages and protection. So today is a very important topic, and today it's really important for you to understand the type of borrower you are and why you are in that category and what the implications are for you to be in the category of borrower that you are and what is expected of you and how lenders, treat you as a borrower in that category. But before we go into, before we dive straight into the type of borrower I want to discuss today, I just want to bring you a few mortgage updates today. Like I always do every week, just updating you on what the current trend is as far as the mortgage market is concerned. And it's even more important in this situation that we find ourselves in this COVID-19 and lockdown period where people are not too sure about what's going on. The information available to us is very limited, except what we see on the news, and not too many people keep up with what's going on in the mortgage market. So that's why I do this every week. Before I discuss every topic, I bring you the mortgage update so that you will keep up, with the trend of things happening in the mortgage market. So, what's happening in the mortgage market today? We're going to be looking at an update that gives us an indication of how the mortgage market is behaving at the moment, and there is a little bit of indication, a slight indication that the mortgage market is picking up a little bit. And how do we know this? And some people might just be surprised. How do you know that? Basically, it's from the data that's been gathered by 27Tech. 27Tech is a very well-respected fintech company in the mortgage industry that provides, information and data and allows mortgage brokers and advisors to use their platform and their tool to search for mortgages and, recommend mortgages based on the searches they do on their platform. So it's based on the data they've collected from those searches that mortgage advisors and brokers do, that they have given us an indication of a slight sign of recovery of the mortgage markets. Hey, it's only a slight sign, but at least any sign of recovery is very welcome at this stage. At this point in time, we are gasping for positive news, and we've got a little bit of it, a little glimpse of what maybe the mortgage market is looking like, and it's likely to look like post COVID-19, because we thought it's all doom and gloom, but the statistics we have now from 27Tech is suggesting a slight recovery by the mortgage market. So let's look at these statistics in details. So it simply said that the volume of searches for mortgages, have increased in the week that ended on the 2nd of May 2020. So there are, slightly higher volume of mortgage searches done, and this volume of searches indicates people's intention to borrow or to take out mortgages. So those volume of searches, breaking that statistics down further, the search volume went up by 21.3% in the week ended to 2nd of May 2020. It's 21.32% compared to 2 weeks before then. So a couple of weeks ago, it was down, but compared to 2 weeks ago, it went up to 1.3% in terms of the volume of searches. Although it was still lower than what it was like 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago it was better, but at least it's on the increase compared to 2 weeks ago. And the total loan value, which is the total value of mortgage loans that have been approved by lenders, went up by 23.59% in the week ended 2nd of May 2020. And although it is still down compared to 4 weeks ago, but at least it's up compared to 2 weeks ago. It's up by 23.59% compared to 2 weeks ago. Now, composition of those searches and what category of mortgages made up those searches. Purchase mortgages, which are mortgages that are, loans that are given out for purchase of properties, that for buying properties, really. It's gone up by about 32% compared to 2 weeks ago. That we're talking about searches here. Purchase, these are not approved loans; these are just searches. 32% of the searches done as at last week ending 2nd of May are made up of purchase mortgages, and then but those purchase mortgages, it's kind of a surprising one because normally the percentage of mortgage searches that are for purchase mortgages is usually between 55 to 60% in the market, but it's dropped down to 32%. And now this is a surprising one. Remortgages now made up 68% of the searches for the week past, ending 2nd of May 2020. But usually the purchase mortgage searches statistics are usually higher than the remortgages. And that's made me a little bit curious. I'm just like diving into this and asking why in this period would remortgages, searches on remortgages be more than searches on purchase mortgages? And I've been just cracking my brain a little bit around that. I'm just saying, okay, we are at a record low interest rates regime, 0.1%, by the Bank of England. So I am not surprised that a lot of people are beginning to think about remortgaging, because people who are on standard variable rate might be thinking, hang on a minute, I might as well take advantage of this very low rate, and they might want to remortgage, their current mortgage deals onto maybe a fixed rate or a better mortgage deal that gives them, the opportunity to pay far less than what they've been paying. That's one reason people might be considering remortgaging more than purchases, because even at this point in time, purchase mortgage is not surprising because you cannot really go and view a property. It's only when you can go out and view a property that you can now make a decision whether to buy or not. So viewings are not being conducted at the moment. So I'm not surprised that purchase mortgages make a smaller percentage of the searches. The remortgages are people who already have a mortgage. They want to remortgage either onto a better deal, or they are looking to take out a capital or take out money from their properties for several reasons. The reason could be basically they want to do home improvement, because now people are at home, they can afford to really take their time to do their home improvements. Every morning when I go to job, because I live very close to B&Q, before B&Q even opens, the queue is already long, and I'm thinking, wow, people are really taking their time out now to work on their homes. So I won't be surprised that some of those remortgaging purposes will just be home improvements. And then you will also be thinking people might want to be remortgaging their properties, taking out money out of their properties so that they can put in some other form of investment, just to diversify a little bit, because there are investment opportunities, especially now that stock market is down and opportunities present themselves for people to buy and invest in stocks. Some might just want to pull out, some money from their properties and maybe invest in stocks that they think are going to appreciate in the future. So these are just speculative reasons I'm just been coming up with, but that's my professional insight into it, to say this is why I think the mortgages are on the up, gradually, and they are more than the purchase searches, because no viewings are conducted. People can't really make purchase decisions except purchase mortgages that have been in the pipeline. And the mortgages, yes, people can remortgage even while they're at home because they already have a mortgage, and there are better deals out there because of record low interest rates. So that is what that's what we've learned about this week's mortgage update, and that's what we know about this week's mortgage update. And one more thing I just wanted to let you know, it's about this week's mortgage update and the searches and the statistics that came out of that. We noticed that the searches on buy-to-let mortgages, about 25% of the total searches that have been conducted, last week. And normally the long-term average for buy-to-let searches is between 19 to 19, it's around the 19% mark. So now it's gone up to 25%. And I'm thinking, wow. So while some people are just like, investors are going to be jittery, nobody will be, willing to invest in properties this time around, buy to let. But the statistics suggest otherwise. It looks like investors don't have a problem investing in properties at the moment if they see the right opportunity, which is typical of any serious property investor. If the right opportunity comes their way, they do not let it go. So buy-to-let mortgages are mortgages that are for property investors, people who buy properties to rent them out, to make a business or a living out of it. So looks like there is an increase now in buy-to-let searches, even more than the long-term average of buy-to-let searches. So suggesting that investors do not have a problem investing in properties at the moment. Okay, so let's dive straight into today's topic of the types of borrowers. Now, there are four major categories of types of borrowers that we'll be discussing in this series, because we're not going to be talking about every single one of them today, but just to give you a heads up of four major categories of borrowers or types of borrowers we will be discussing. One is personal borrower, the second business borrowers, and then there are corporate borrowers, and there are commercial borrowers. So we'll break all that down and difference, as we go on this series. So for the next couple of weeks, we'll be discussing these types of borrowers in details. But then let's go straight to what personal borrowers are and how these personal borrowers are categorized and how they are treated and how they are seen and what's peculiar about personal borrowers. Now, there are a couple of reasons, people would want to take out a home finance for personal reasons. Personal borrowers are really people who are borrowing for personal reasons. And these are regulated mortgages. They form the bulk of the purchase mortgages that we do, and they form the bulk of the regulated mortgages that we do. People who borrow for personal reasons. Okay, now there are a couple of reasons people will borrow for those personal reasons. Number one would be for them to for them to purchase a property, and number two might be for remortgaging. I've talked about remortgaging before. Buying a family home is number one reason that people really borrow for personal reasons when it comes to home finance, and that is to provide a shelter for them and their family. Second reason people could borrow for personal reasons would be for remortgage. And remortgaging, as I've discussed earlier, is simply somebody who already has a mortgage, but is either maybe that mortgage is up for renewal. If it's a fixed term mortgage, it's like a 2-year fix, and you've come to the end of that fixed term, you would want to remortgage and take that mortgage either to another lender or remain with the same lender that's on a different product. It simply means you are renewing your mortgage arrangement, or you are changing the mortgage arrangement from one type of mortgage to another type of mortgage. Maybe you were on standard variable rate and you now want to take advantage of fixed variable or fixed rate mortgages, or you want to remortgage onto buy to let, or you want to remortgage onto another kind of mortgage products. Okay, so that's what remortgaging is all about. And then the other reason a personal borrower could also want to borrow would be for second charges. Now, second charges is they're like top-up finance. Okay, so somebody who already has a mortgage, but they need to borrow extra money from their property. That extra money will have to be secured on their property. Second charges could be with the same lender that you are with, or a different lender. So a different lender can take a second charge on your property. So that lender who's taking a second charge on your property, sometimes they need consent from your first charge lender before they can take a second charge on your property. Second charge simply means that they have a hold on your property. It means that you cannot sell that property until you pay them. So there's the first charge lenders are the people that you pay first. In the event you want to start paying off your mortgage debts, you pay them first before you pay the second charge lender. So it's a second mortgage on your property. It's different from remortgaging, because in this case there are two mortgages. That's why it's a first charge and a second charge. It's a different kind of mortgage. So there are two mortgages on your property, and there are two different mortgage products. The other reason a personal borrower could want to take a home finance would be bridging finance. So if you are about to move home, that you want to put your market or your property in the market, and that property is in market but it hasn't sold, and then you've seen a lovely home that you want to move into, and you need to sell that property before you move into that home or you're able to buy that property. So you can go and take out a bridging finance. A bridging finance, like the name suggests, basically bridges both transactions, the sale of the property and the purchase of the new property. So you take a finance that will be secured on either of the properties. It will be secured on the property you are looking to sell, or take out a bridging finance on the property that you want to buy. And then pending when you sell that property, you can now pay the bridging finance off. So it's a short-term lending that you can take out if you do not want to miss out on the property you want to buy and the other property hasn't sold. You can take out a bridging finance which bridges both transactions together. So it's a finance that bridges two different transactions and makes it happen. So, but if you are taking out a bridging finance as a personal borrower, it is a regulated bridging finance you're going to be taking, because in this case, if it's on a residential property, it's going to be a regulated transaction. Regulated transactions basically are transactions that give you the protection as a consumer. It gives you consumer protection, meaning that you can complain if you think you've not got the right advice, if you think you've been misled, if you think you've been offered the wrong product, if you think the advice you got was not up to the standard and quality expected of a professional who rendered that advice. You've got that protection. You can make complaint to the financial ombudsman if you were not able to resolve it internally with whoever has provided advice, either a mortgage advisor or a financial institution. That's what regulated transactions are. Non-regulated transactions takes away that protection from you. It means that whatever you are doing is basically on business purpose, and you're expected to be aware of the implications of your decision and to stomach them even if it doesn't go wrong. Because if it goes right, to be honest, you enjoy the benefits alone. Okay, but before I go any further, I just want to clarify a situation here. I want to clarify the situation around joint mortgages, because a lot of personal loans or home finance that people take out might be on in joint names. People take out joint mortgages, and there are a lot of joint mortgages out there. So it's about the responsibility that comes with joint mortgage and the liabilities. So there is a joint and several liability that comes with joint mortgages. So if you and your spouse, or if you and another person come together to take out a mortgage, so if two or more people come together and put their name as applicants for a mortgage product, all of you whose name on that mortgage application document, you are jointly and severally responsible and liable for the whole amount of that loan. So it is not a question of, okay, me and my wife took out a mortgage and therefore both of us are responsible for 50% of the value of the mortgage at any given point in time. No, that's not how the lender sees it. The both of you are jointly and severally responsible for the total amount of that loan. So if you took out a mortgage of £250,000, £200,000, for example, let me use a round figure. If you took out a mortgage of £200,000 with your wife is responsible for 200,000. You are responsible for 200,000. In the event any of you decides to disappear or abscond or refuses to pay the mortgage, the lender will chase you people individually. They will hold you individually responsible. They cannot hold your wife responsible for 100,000 and then you responsible for 100,000. No. Because the both of you came together to make the application, you are jointly and severally liable and responsible for the total amount of that loan, even if the couple splits. So divorce does not absolve you of the mortgage responsibility. Separation does not absolve you of the mortgage responsibility. Even if it's not your spouse, but you came together maybe with your brother or sister or even a friend to buy a property. So before you decide to buy a property together with anybody, make sure that all of you who are going to party to that application, understand the implication of that decision, that every single one of you are jointly and severally liable and responsible for the total amount of the mortgage that you have taken out. So that you don't think, okay, yeah, we've taken out this mortgage, there are four of us, 50,000, everyone responsible for 50,000 each. No. Now, privately and between the both of you, you and your spouse, for example, you can decide to split the responsibility of payment between you. You can start to share it in whatever proportion you want. The man could, both of you can say, okay, we'll be contributing 50% of the mortgage amount into a joint account and we're paying it from there. That's fine. It's your decision. Or, oh, Mr. Man, you bring 60%, the woman bring 40% of the mortgage and of the mortgage repayment amount, and we'll pay it into a joint account. Even with other bills that goes on in the house, you can decide to split the bills however you want, in whatever proportion you want. But it does not mean that that's the way the lender views it. When there's a problem and there's need for repayment or for the lender to chase you, they are going to chase the both of you for all of the amounts, irrespective of the situation or the arrangements you have made for yourself. Okay, now the other type of borrower that I want to talk about here are buy-to-let borrowers. This is a very, very critical part of mortgage lending and mortgage decision that a lot of people get wrong, before they get it right, as per, their relationship with their lender as a buy-to-let borrower, they struggle with it. But this session is not enough for me to talk about everything buy-to-let, but I'm just going to give you buy-to-let, mortgages in a nutshell. And I'm going to devote a session just to buy-to-let in the future and discuss buy-to-let in full, and we'll understand how it works. But simply put, buy-to-let mortgages are mortgages that people take out for the purpose of buying a property to invest as an investment. So they can rent out that same property to people for people to pay them rent in return. So basically you are taking that loan out with the sole purpose and with the intention to invest in a property as an investment. So the intention is very, very important here. Your intention to take out the mortgage is to buy a property, and the purpose of buying that property is to use it as an investment. So it's a business for you. So that's why it's called a buy-to-let mortgage. You are buying it to let it out, not for any other purpose. You do not buy a property as a buy-to-let and then you go in and you live in it. It is considered to be mortgage fraud. Right? And then the lender, when they find out, they can nullify the whole of that mortgage and ask you to pay back the whole of the mortgage the whole loan that you were advanced, because you breached the contract and you have misled the lender, and it's mortgage fraud. So it is simply specifically targeted at investors and property investors. Now, some people decide to buy properties for investment as a way of diversification of their investment portfolio, maybe away from stocks. Say, for example, now that stocks, stocks and shares downward spiral, some investors might try to take their money out of the stock market and then buy a property. I don't know. It might even be the reason searches for buy-to-let properties have increased in the last week. But we don't know. Okay, but it's an option for investors to pull out of stock markets and diversify their investments into properties. And the way they do it is to buy to let properties, which they rent out to individuals, and they receive rent in return. Now, buy to let investors make a profit in two ways. Okay, they make a profit via property inflation. It means when property prices increase, they make a profit, because if they bought a property for £100,000 10 years ago, and in 10 years' time that property is now worth £250,000, they have made a profit of £150,000 on that property within 10 years. Okay. The other way they can make a profit is through rental income, and they can only make a profit if after paying mortgage and other costs, they have something left. Whatever is left becomes their profit. So if the mortgage payment is, say, £600 and the rent and the rent they are achieving from that property is £1,500. So by the time they pay their mortgage, they have £900 left. They might pay, estate management fees if they are being managed by estate agents. They will pay insurance and then other costs that's is directly related to that property. When they take out those costs and they take out the mortgage payment, whatever is left becomes their profit. So those are the two ways that property investors make profit: by rental income and by property inflation. So that when they buy property and they invest for the purpose of achieving those twofold profits. There is something that I need you to know about buy-to-let mortgages. The way buy-to-let mortgages are seen and administered by lenders is different from the way they look at purchase mortgages for residential purposes. So they look at it from a business point of view. The moment you come to take a mortgage for buy-to-let, that mortgage is not regulated. Yeah, like I've explained before, the buy-to-let mortgage is not regulated because it is considered a business loan. It is assumed that you know what you are doing, you know the risks you are going to take and you want to take and you are willing to take it. All right. So you assume to be a professional. You assume to have made your research and consider that mortgage product, good enough for you. And then you take out that mortgage. So you do not have the consumer protection that the ordinary person who went to buy their residential property has, because the person who went to buy their residential property is considered more vulnerable in terms of the quality of advice they are going to receive from an advisor or a financial institution than yourself. So, but if you're a buy-to-let investor, you don't have that consumer protection, and your mortgage advisor will make it clear to you, or a mortgage broker will make it clear to you that this is a non-regulated transaction. So you cannot complain to the financial ombudsman to say, look, I don't think I received the right advice for this. No, that protection is not there. So the onus is on you to do your research and make sure that the mortgage you are taking is suitable for your investment and is profitable enough for you to make enough profits on that. Okay. At the same time, if there are two or more people who are taking out a joint buy-to-let mortgage, the same principle applies to them. Jointly and severally, they are liable for the mortgages that they have taken out, just like it applies to those people who have taken out residential mortgages to purchase for their residential and personal use. Okay, because the other reason that the buy-to-let mortgage is not regulated is also that the loan you are taking is not secured on your private residence. It's not secured on your residential property. The loan is secured against the investment property that you are purchasing. Okay, so even if the worst comes to worst and the lender decides to repossess that property because you're unable to live up to your own part of paying the mortgage, or you're unable to repay the mortgage, they're not going to be kicking you out of your property. It is the tenant who unfortunately is going to be suffering the brunt of being kicked out of the property if it comes to that. The lender might even decide to say, okay, we're going to take over the management of the property. We're going to keep the tenants. Let's just keep collecting the rents, and then keep paying our mortgage. They might decide to take that option, or they might decide to sell the property completely and just recoup their investments, and that's it. So the risk of homelessness is very low on that point. So it's not regulated. But there is another version of buy-to-let that has been in place since 2016 March. When I do a full version of buy-to-let mortgage, I'm going to tell you other things like how buy-to-let mortgages are decided in terms of repayment and all that. It's not the same criteria that applies to residential mortgages that applies to buy-to-let mortgages. For example, most buy-to-let mortgages are arranged on interest-only basis. Okay, because that's basically what you want. The interest is what buy-to-let mortgage borrowers pay. The capital remains unpaid until the time of the mortgage, until the end of the term of the mortgage, and then they decide either to sell the property and pay back, or they have an investment somewhere that they will have to recoup and pay back the lender. Also, in deciding the loan amounts, there's something called the interest cover ratio, which is either 125% of the rental value. The rental value has to be 125% of the mortgage repayment or 145% depending on your tax band. So these are technicalities that I'm going to take my time to break down when I'm going to do a full session on buy-to-let mortgage. But this is just a taster. Now I just need to quickly mention the other category of buy-to-let called consumer buy-to-let. Since March 2016, this new category of buy-to-let has been created, carved out, and it is now a regulated kind of buy-to-let. Consumer buy-to-let mortgages or consumer buy-to-let borrowers are borrowers who are considered to have rent out their property not by virtue of their choice to make it wholly and predominantly a business decision, but the circumstances thrust them into that. Circumstances like they inherited a property and they didn't know what to do with it, and they just said, okay, let's rent it out now and think about what to do with that property later. Or they are moving out of a particular property to buy a new one. So they can remortgage that current property they are moving out of to become a buy-to-let, and then they put tenants in, they receive rent, and then move on because of job or wanting to engage or to downsize or to upgrade their property and all that. So as long as it is not wholly and predominantly based on a business decision, if they find themselves in that situation, they are considered to be consumer buy-to-let borrowers. In fact, we call them accidental landlords. Okay. So because they became landlords by accident, they did not set out to make it an investment. For that category of buy-to-let, they are regulated. Regulated in the sense that they are considered vulnerable customers. And so advisors like ourselves or anybody who offers mortgage advice is expected to break it down to them, the implication of the mortgage they are going to be taking, how that mortgage decision was arrived at, and why that mortgage product is suitable for them, and what they are going to experience as per landlords, what it means to them, because it's a whole new world to them. Quite all right. But then it was by circumstance they found themselves in that situation. So in that situation, they have the privilege of being regulated. It means if anything goes wrong in the quality of advice that they receive, they can contact the Financial Ombudsman Service and make a complaint against the advisor or the advising firm, right? And they are protected, as consumer. That's why they are called consumer buy-to-let. So they have a consumer protection around them. So that's the difference between consumer buy-to-let and buy-to-let. Consumer buy-to-lets are regulated. Ordinary, normal buy-to-let are non-regulated. So consumer buy-to-lets are simply borrowers who took out a buy-to-let mortgage without making it wholly and predominantly a business purpose borrowing because of circumstance. They just saw themselves in that situation. So if you see yourself in that situation, you know what your rights are, you know where you fall under, you know what category you belong to, and your advisor will make that clear to you, and we make it clear to all our clients when we arrange a consumer buy-to-let for them. So when you are looking to move home and you want to rent out your current property, it is not every lender that deals with consumer buy-to-let. Some lenders, the moment you mention consumer buy-to-let, they tell you, no, we don't deal with regulated mortgages. Lenders who don't deal with regulated mortgages cannot do consumer buy-to-let for you. They will have access to all the lenders and those who do consumer buy-to-let and those who do consumer buy-to-let. As long as we understand your situation and your circumstance, we'll be there to give you the right quality of advice. Lenders do not give out buy-to-let mortgages to first-time buyers, especially, or people who do not own their own homes. But there are exceptional situations where, for example, you are living with family and friends, okay? You don't have any need to buy your own home, but you just want to invest while you're living with your parents. While you're living with you just want to invest. Lenders can take exception to that and grant you loan for buy-to-let mortgage as a first-time investor. or you earn a certain amount of money, and lenders already know that you can afford to buy your own home, but you just choose not to buy. So they are in that category. They know that you can afford it, and they can just advance you a buy-to-let mortgage based on their assessment of maybe your income and your capacity and your knowledge and your experience and all that. So there are exceptional situations like that, but generally for first-time buyers and people who don't own their own homes, lenders don't normally advance buy-to-let loans to them. All right, folks, this is where we're going to round it up today. And I hope today's session has been very useful to you. And if it's been very useful to you, we're very, very keen to hear from you what your feedbacks are and what you think about this session. And if you've enjoyed it, please share it on your platform and let others benefit from that too. And please get in touch with us if you've got any question. If you want to know more about what we do, please visit us at modestyfinancialconsultants.co.uk. Ring me up on 0777 488 2126. If you are calling up from outside of the UK, please add +44 to it, +44 777 488 2126, and let's discuss and let's talk and let's have a chat. All right. On any social media platform, you can find me on Facebook. Search Ikenna Umezike on Facebook. Search Ikenna Umezike on Twitter. Search Ikenna Umezike on Instagram. Search Ikenna Umezike on LinkedIn and all there. And I'm here as well. And on YouTube, search my YouTube channel and subscribe and make sure you are not left out of the latest of our educational videos. Take care, stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy. God bless you and see you next week. Bye.